The atmosphere inside the courtroom was heavy with the weight of responsibility and the lingering echoes of past relationships. It was a place where stories reached their final chapter, and where the truth was expected to shine brighter than any excuse. Judge Judy Justice sat behind her elevated bench, her eyes sharp and discerning, looking down at the individuals who had brought their private grievances into the public eye. The case was numbered 3025, involving the plaintiffs, Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson, who were seeking justice against the defendant, Donna Schultz. The story of this conflict did not begin in a courtroom, but rather in the complicated reality of shared lives and shared assets. Isaac Thompson and Kendall Ruiz stood together as a unit, their lives intertwined by a relationship that had spanned approximately 2.5 years. Their bond was further solidified by the presence of a young child, a son who had celebrated his first birthday in January of the current year. They shared a home and a life, building a future together despite the challenges of the past. However, the past was represented by Donna Schultz, a woman with whom Isaac had once shared a life and a child. Their relationship had ended at least 3.5 years ago, but the ties that bind parents together remained. They had a son who would be 4 years old in August, and Isaac made a concerted effort to see him every week or every other week. It was a delicate balance of co-parenting, or so it seemed on the surface. The central figure in this legal drama was not a person, but a machine, a 2016 Jeep Renegade. This vehicle was purchased on April 6, 2021, during a time when Isaac and Kendall were beginning their journey as a couple. Both of their names were etched onto the title, signifying a shared commitment and shared financial responsibility. But as is often the case with human emotions, the path was not always smooth. In December 2021, a period of transition occurred. Isaac and Kendall had briefly separated, and Isaac returned to live with his parents, taking the Jeep with him. During this period of separation, a decision was made that would lead them all to this very courtroom. Kendall Ruiz had obtained a new vehicle for herself when Isaac left, and the agreement between them was that Isaac would keep the Jeep and continue making the monthly payments, which amounted to $367. But soon, Isaac found himself unable to afford the vehicle. Instead of returning it or selling it, he looked toward his past. Donna Schultz was in need of a vehicle to transport their son, and Isaac, perhaps moved by a desire to be helpful or perhaps simply seeking a way out of financial burden, offered her a deal. The terms were simple in his mind, though legally complex in reality. He told Donna she could use the Jeep as long as she made the monthly payments and maintained proper insurance on the vehicle. He even harbored the idea that she could eventually put the vehicle in her own name. However, the law and the bank did not care for such informal arrangements. As Judge Judy pointed out with her characteristic bluntness, Donna Schultz was a stranger to the loan company. The bank had a contract with Isaac and Kendall, and they would not simply allow them off the hook because a third party had entered the picture. There was a lien on the title, and as long as that debt existed, the bank held a true ownership. By January of 2020 split, Isaac and Kendall had reconciled and were living together once more. The agreement with Donna continued, but the cracks were already beginning to show. Donna made the payment for January, albeit late. She made the payment for February. She claimed to have made the payment for March, though Isaac doubted it. By April, the situation had deteriorated significantly. Isaac began to ask for the vehicle back, realizing that Donna was not holding up her end of the bargain. Not only were the payments late, which damaged Isaac's credit score, but more importantly, there was no proof of insurance. In the courtroom, Judge Judy looked Isaac directly in the eye. She questioned the true motivation behind his sudden desire to reclaim the car. She suggested that perhaps Kendall Ruiz was not entirely comfortable with the fact that her name was on the title of a car being driven by her boyfriend's former flame. Isaac tried to deny it, and Kendall insisted she only cared about the legal responsibility and the safety of the child, but the human element was undeniable. It was a classic case of complicated dynamics where personal history collided with financial reality. The turning point of the story occurred on April 25th. Donna Schultz was involved in an accident while driving the Jeep. She struck another woman's vehicle, causing significant damage to the front end of the Jeep. At that time, she had no insurance. The coverage had lapsed while she was purportedly looking for a new provider. This was a critical breach of the agreement. Without insurance, The owners of the car, Isaac and Kendall, were left vulnerable to immense liability. When the vehicle was finally returned on May 3, 2022, after threats of reporting it stolen were made to the police, it was no longer the reliable machine it had once been. The damage was not merely cosmetic. While the bumper was mangled, there was underlying damage to the transmission and the oil system, rendering the vehicle completely undrivable. For an entire year, the Jeep sat in a driveway, a silent monument to a failed agreement, while Isaac continued to make payments on a car he could not use. During the hearing, Donna Schultz attempted to defend her actions, claiming the car was fine after the accident and that she had never been told to return it until much later. But the evidence spoke louder than her words. The police report indicated a level of deception regarding the accident, and a lack of insurance was an undeniable fact. Judge Judy, after hearing the testimonies and reviewing the estimates, delivered her wisdom. She reminded Isaac that he had breached his own contract with the bank by failing to maintain insurance and by handing the keys to someone the bank had never approved. He had trusted a verbal promise over a written obligation. Donna, too, had breached her promise to Isaac. The total cost to repair the vehicle was estimated at $6,000. The final judgment was a lesson in shared responsibility. Judge Judy awarded the plaintiffs $3,000, exactly half of the repair estimate. It was a recognition that while Donna had caused the physical damage, Isaac had allowed the situation to occur by neglecting his legal duties to his lender. As the parties left the courtroom, the air was filled with mixed emotions. Kendall and Isaac felt the sting of a hard-learned lesson. They had tried to help, but they had done so without protecting themselves. Donna Schultz remained defensive, seemingly unable to fully grasp the gravity of her broken promises. The story ended not with a grand celebration, but with a quiet reflection on the nature of contracts and the importance of personal accountability. It served as a reminder to all that when you sign your name to a document, you are bound by its words, regardless of whom you choose to help along the way. The Jeep remained undrivable, and the relationships remained strained, but the truth had been recorded, and a measure of justice had been served.